Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Trick or treat isn't just some phrase you chant mindlessly like the Lord's Prayer. It's an oral contract.
You're right. We've forgotten the old ways. The ways of rotten eggs and soaked-up windows. I say we trick her. Trick her good.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and happy Halloween season. This is the Midnight Black Mass, and we are on the air. I am your host, the maniacal minister of the occult, the devil you know, the mouth of hell himself, the Reverend the Dragon, Dan Wilson here, alongside my tag team partner, who has more nicknames than any other man in the history of professional wrestling, but he is the matchmaker of Empire Wrestling and the 2014 Georgia Wrestling History Matchmaker of the Year, Andrew Alexander. How's it going, man?
Man, it's going good. I have acquired a lot of nicknames. That's funny because in my personal life, I really don't have any. And I never really have. I've never been a nickname guy. Did you say you were the Mouse of Hell?
Yeah.
The Mouse?
Why not?
Oh, okay. Because I thought he said the Mouse of Hell, but I think he meant the Mouth of Hell.
That's what I said. What did you? Am I misunderstanding you?
I heard M-O-U-S-E.
No. It was M-O-U-T-H.
Okay. Well, in that case, I would like to add a nickname to my list, and I would like to be the Mouse of Hell. M-O-U-S-E of Hell.
The Mouse of Hell.
And what was that clip that started the show? What was that from?
That was some classic Simpsons action, just kind of summarizing my thoughts on the Halloween season and kind of how it's turned into a bunch of bullshit over the years. I've lamented on this in years past here on the program, but I just hate that people are so goddamn paranoid that they won't let their children trick or treat. You lose that whole sense of community. Everything has to be sanitized and sterilized through trunk or treats. And the whole conspiracy of people poisoning the candy. It happened one time in the 70s. So you have one asshole to blame your whole life for your parents fucking hammering that down your throat that your candy was injected with fucking Drano or cyanide or razor blades or what have you. And it was a member of the kid's own family that did it. So a little Halloween myth busting there for you here on the Midnight Black Mass.
Yeah, you are a big fan of Halloween. I just haven't been able to maintain the love. Even becoming, a teen, or when I hit maybe 10 or 11, I really stopped dressing up. Like I would still go out with my little sister, but I wouldn't dress up. I would just go to get the damn candy. I just couldn't keep that love and connection for the season like you have, and I mean, like you said, I think a lot of it is just because it's become just so watered down, and so I mean, it doesn't have the meaning that it used to because of shit like that and trunk or treats and it's devilish and this shit is so. I mean, there's so much more devilish and evil shit out there than Halloween. Kids, the costumes are all, I mean, how many kids do you see walking around just dressed as yourself or dressed as, really gory shit, zombies and stuff like that, to where it's a level of disgusting. All the costumes that you see are, superheroes and cartoon characters and video games and shit. I don't understand what people get such a fuss about over it.
Yeah, it's just really, like you said, it's been watered down, and it has been homogenized, and it's just bullshit. Like, I don't care for it. I've maintained the love because I have that just deep connection to it from my childhood. that formed who I am in so many ways, you know, all of the things about Halloween and that season and the movies and the getting together. I was just talking to my sister and this guy that I grew up with on the old Facebook the other day. Like, I remember my elementary school ran a haunted house when I was in, like, the second fucking grade. And it was just, I mean, it's probably some shit put on by the PTA, right? And, you know, it was, like, gory as hell. Like, there was a guy on an operating table getting, like, intestines pulled out of his fucking stomach. And, like, you know, all kinds of, like, chainsaw chasers and just lots of fake blood and vampires. And, like, you know, it was a legit haunted house. And I remember thinking, man, that was cool as shit. And I also remember thinking it never happened again there at my elementary school. And I'm imagining some of the more, the individuals of the sensitive buttocks, perhaps, in here, little old Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, probably decided that was a little too much. And, you know, I remember just like every year it seemed to get less and less cool and scary. But that doesn't change how I celebrate it. It's all about, you know, keeping in touch with that inner child, man. You lose sight of that and you fucking let the world turn you into a fucking a normie, a muggle, as Harry Potter fans would say. You just can't fucking do that, man.
Yeah, you would never.
Oh, these people are so fucking sensitive now. Oh, you can't scare kids. Like, why the fuck not? You know, if I had kids, I would scare the shit out of them all the time. Every day I would look forward to scaring the fuck out of my kids. Like, why can't you scare them? Why do people think that there's this need to protect, you know, every kid from, there's bad shit out there. You need to smarten them up and let them know that there's bad shit and let them know the difference between some real life bad shit and some stuff that goes bump in the night that's not real. Like, I don't understand when or what caused this whole huge level of sensitivity to happen. But yeah, you're not going to see no haunted house put on by the school or shit like that anymore. Like, that's just not going to happen today, and it's a fucking shame.
Yeah, like that whole horror genre, it really is cathartic in many ways for people and therapeutic in terms of facing your fears, because there are so many fucking horrible things out in the world that can face any human on any given day, and you can kind of transpose that into these fictional characters and see how the characters and the heroines and the final girls overcome their fears in dealing with this shit. And, you know, it's like, it to me, it's always like you can't let the darkness get you if you become one with it and you understand it. And, like, there's so much of that going on in the horror genre of Halloween. And, like, I love, you know, in Mexico, what's that Book of Life movie with my daughter, and, you know, it's about the Mexican Day of the Dead, essentially their Halloween. Happens on November 1st. But it's not a day of, like, being they put up the scary things, but you're not supposed to be scared of them. It's the day you're supposed to try to understand them because it's your loved ones, and you know, it's not just monsters and boogeymen, but it's a day of respecting and honoring the dead, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, when I went to I took a little vacation a couple weeks ago, and I was hanging out with my nieces who are 3 and 5, and you know, they're in the ocean and stuff. And later on, I showed them, I was like, y'all know what sharks are? And they, you know, kind of said yes. And I was like, well, look here. And I YouTube clips from Jaws. And my sister, their mother, was like getting angry, like, quit showing them that. And, you know, they weren't scared. They weren't scared at all. They were watching it. And, you know, the next day they got back in the ocean. But they should know to fear and respect the fucking sharks. You know, you're going into their house. You need to be aware of what they can do.
Yeah, damn straight. So fucking happy Halloween to everybody out there. Don't let the man bring the holiday down. Enjoy it. Take your kids trick-or-treating. Get candy. Celebrate it. Watch your all-night horror movie marathons. Go to Halloween parties. Chicks, get dressed up slutty and go out there and shake your thing like you know you like to do, because that's become part of Halloween more than anything almost now. But, you know, I'm okay with that trend as long as you just don't take the other shit away. That's all.
It's okay to be slutty, but it's not okay to be scary.
That's and I mean, you know, I don't think there's a problem with being slutty, but you know, there's also not a problem with being scary. So I don't see the correlation any fucking way. Like I said, happy Halloween. to everybody listening to the show. We'll have more Halloween discussion as we creep towards our favorite holiday of the year. Assuming we make it that far, according to a prophecy, there is a religious organization who has stated that, of course, they predicted like 2013 that the world was going to come to an end, and they were wrong. But now they're saying tomorrow, actually, as we record this, Wednesday, the 7th of October in 2015, the world is coming to an end. The good Lord is going to smite us all down with fire, according to these people. So it's happening tomorrow. I have a feeling they'll probably be fucking wrong again. I hope so. But
I bet they're just a little off because, I guess we can share this. We've already talked about it a little bit, but founder of the Potty Humor Network, the great Muji, is getting married on October 7th, 2016. And if ever there was a sign of the end of the world, I would have to say that did.
Well, for now, we'll just call it Apocalypse Later.
Well, hopefully we'll make it. If not, oh well.
If not, it's been a good ride. We had a good run. So let's move it along to the Wrestle News. Beep, 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 beep. Wrestle News. Sad news coming out of the Wrestle News camp today. I just heard this over the past week as in between the recordings of the Midnight Black Mass. Nashville-based female wrestler who started out in Kansas City, had a nice run in the territories, was a sweet lady, actually the ex-wife of my great-uncle Gypsy Joe. I spent a little time with her up in the Nashville area several years ago, right before I got into the business. It's been a long fucking time now. I guess it's probably about the time Moses was delivering the fucking Sermon on the Mountain. But she was a very, very sweet lady, passed away in her mid-50s due to a heart attack. She's no longer with Joe. I don't know what their connection was or whatever happened with them. I know they split up after a while, and he, would say a little bit about it, but he didn't really go into great detail. But he, she, like I said, I spent a little time with her. She was a sweet lady and, fairly respected as a female wrestler amongst her peers. So definitely just wanted to send a quick shout out and rest in peace to Miss Robbie Rage. From the Nashville area. Not to be confused with WCW Power Plant / High Voltage member Robbie Rage, who I also know and haven't heard from in years, but was a hell of a member of the Wildside roster for a brief time.
Yeah, sad to hear. I didn't know her, obviously, and when you sent me the text saying that, I instantly thought, wow, Robbie Rage from WCW. And I could tell just by the tone of the text that you were, bummed out, and I was just like, does he know Robbie Rage? But then I quickly realized that you meant someone else. So, sad to hear that, and hopefully the High Voltage Robbie Rage is doing well.
Yeah, hopefully he is. He only had a short run with us, but he came and hang around right after the development deal got squashed, just because he wanted some work and he was still living in Atlanta, and, he was fucking huge. He went to New Japan and had a decent little run after that. I don't know whatever happened to him, but he was a good dude. But Miss Robbie Rage was certainly a great lady, and she will definitely be missed. Also, Nashville wrestler, a guy I didn't really know very well, but he worked some of the early Wildside tapings and was kind of part of that talent exchange between Nashville and Georgia when Bill was involved heavily in both, Bill Behrens, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But a guy who was well loved by the boys up in Nashville, and a lot of them were really bummed. And, got a lot of good friends up there. So I just wanted to give a quick shout-out to the late Shabazz, who passed away in an accident at his job, unfortunately. So very tragic passing, actually, for him. It wasn't just some sort of natural cause thing, which is very sad to hear.
No, that's I was thinking you just brought up the working relationship with WCW that had with Wildside there for a while.
I was just thinking the last week or so, have you ever thought about how different, not the landscape of wrestling as a business and the national wrestling scene would be if WCW was in business, but just the landscape for, you and I and people that we know?
I don't like to think about it because it makes my fucking stomach turn. This is why I'm not a big fan of Russo and the like, and it's like that's probably digging holes I don't need to dig or burning bridges I don't need to burn because I don't have anything to do with the guy. But, the people that were involved in the destruction of WCW, and I don't blame guys like Nash even. I'm talking about more like Russo and some of the other mismanaging idiots behind the scenes, but also a lot of the like Turner executives that really fucked things up there because they had no idea what they were doing. I got a real sore spot for those motherfuckers because they fucked not just myself, but a lot of guys out of fucking opportunities. And basically now we have this monopoly where, really you can only make the big money in the WWE. There's a few places you can make some respectable money still, but you can only make the big money in the one place now, and, it's not, you can't blame WWE because they were just trying to fucking survive like anybody else, and they just happen to succeed. And, WCW mismanaged that shit down into the fucking toilet. And, fuck every one of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, I think, last week there was a leaked document with pretty much the entire roster, what they made and their contracts and information like that. And who knows if that was 100% legitimate. But let's say for argument's sake that it was, they were just, the money that was thrown around for anyone was just insane money. And I've always thought that I've known tons of guys that if WCW had stayed in business and stayed running out of the Atlanta area would have got jobs. I think at the very worst, if I'd changed nothing about my career, did everything exactly the same, I could have at least been, one of those journeyman job guys on the syndicated shows that were making, you could definitely make a great living, especially being is that a lot of that took place in the South, so you could probably do some tapings and then you were home, for the rest of the week, so you didn't have to spend the money on the travel. So at the very least, being a job guy in those times, you could make a respectable living. And we probably just know countless of guys that could have been maybe not main event players, but at least could have gotten the opportunity and maybe could have become that if that company didn't go out of business. And just again, the money that was thrown around is just insane to think about, especially for how little a lot of guys were working in the grand scheme of things, not working, 5 days a week on the road.
Yeah, that shit, it still pisses me off to this day because it really did. Like I said, not just me, not that I would have been guaranteed a job, but the prospects were looking pretty good at the time that they went out of business. So that was a pretty big bummer. I had a lot of connections there internally in WCW thanks to Stephen Prazak and Scott Hudson and other guys who were really very fucking awesome to me. But I really felt like the prospects were high, and when that whole infrastructure collapsed, then, I was completely off of that radar.
Yeah, but hey, not even worth thinking about, because if we would have became huge stars in WCW and made just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and lived just a real cushy life, we wouldn't be sitting here hosting this podcast for our listeners. So, hey, it all worked out for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to look on the right side.
That's right. As the Carter family said, keep on the sunny side if you can. Just while we're talking about Nashville real quick, I don't really normally plug other guys' stuff that I don't have anything to do with, but this was just cool. Too cool not to. One of my all-time broadcasting heroes, the great Lance Russell, is such a sweetheart of a guy. I've only talked to him just a little bit on the old Facebook, but he is such an awesome dude. And he is, they're having a tribute show for him on October 24th in Jackson, Tennessee, promoted by the infamous Bert Prentice. But Bert's done a hell of a job with this thing. And, I don't really have anything against Bert, to be quite honest. I've done some business with him where we kind of got heated, especially during the NWA Chattanooga days. I think he was in bed with George Goulas, business-wise, and was just, not trying to make any accusations there. I think he had an issue with us promoting NWA wrestling in Chattanooga and trying to claim that we were trying to leech off of the Goulas name, which was not the case. I mean, we did mention it in our promotion because he was the guy that promoted under the brand. But, anyway, we came to an understanding. But I think he's had heat with me since then. But I actually don't have anything against Bert at all. So, if he hates me, then I'm sure I probably did something to deserve it. But whatever. I don't fucking worry about that shit these days. But anyway, I did want to put it over. We're going to have Jerry Lawler versus Terry Funk in the main event with pretty much every great, yes, It was pretty much and Terry Funk claiming, his last match, but that's been claimed a lot. But Lawler and Funk in the main event, like pretty much every Memphis star you could imagine on the undercard. Really going to be a special event. That's when I'd probably actually make the trip just to go see, because fuck, I mean, like, when are you going to get a chance to see those guys together again? But I'll actually be in Orlando that weekend. But yeah, if you're up in the Jackson, Tennessee area, you cannot afford to miss that fucking show. I mean, for nostalgia, I'm sure there's not going to be, like, the quickest fucking flippy-do high spot bullshit that you can imagine, but you're going to see two of the fucking all-time greats go out there and tell a story.
And I mean, hey, you say what you want about Terry Funk. I mean, no matter what your thoughts are. But if this man goes on record and says it's his last match, I've got to believe it.
Well, he had such a great track record with that. I mean, hey, in our top 5 episodes, Terry Funk was my number 1 all-time favorite wrestler. So you will never hear me say a damned thing negative about the Funker.
Was it Lawler number 2 or 3?
Yeah, Lawler was 2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to last week's episode, I believe it was quoted. I would go to this show, but I just can't because I'm not booked. And I've stayed in shape. I'm on the trampoline every day with the 5-pounders, doing a little free weights, a little cardio exercise. I've been staying ready to get the call, but I'm just not booked.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, brother. That's my fucking default picture that I see when people ask me, "Hey, you're gonna be at such and such show this weekend?" If I'm not booked, I just text them a picture of Dennis Stamp, and it doesn't say anything else. That's all it needs. That's all they fucking need to know.
And if they don't get it, fuck them.
Yeah, if they don't get it, then they suck. So, what to put over Georgia wrestling right now is really hot. There's a lot of internet buzz. I like to think that Empire might have led the charge on that, but there seems to be, because of whatever the Phoenix City Invitational and previous publicity we'd gotten, there seems to be a lot more eyes moving around on Georgia wrestling, seeing what else is going on. We see that AWE out of Atlanta, they started out kind of struggling, but seem to be finding their own niche and a lot of popularity down there, and having some good shows. So that's great. Peach State Wrestling out of, I believe, Carrollton, Georgia is where they're located, if I'm not mistaken. And that's Rick Michaels is the matchmaker down there. They've got a hell of a crew. They do a little great old-school product, getting a lot of eyes on it, a lot of people paying attention. Going to be bringing in Jim Cornette later in the month, so that's going to be cool. You got WrestleMerica down there in the South Georgia area with Luke Gallows and Iceberg and a lot of major players there. And it just seems like that, of course, you add Empire to that mix, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but there's a lot of great wrestling in Georgia right now. So just definitely want to keep your eye on that and check out some of these shows if you're down in the area. Don't let WWE be the only fucking wrestling you know or hear about. Go check out some of these shows and what they've got to offer, because if you're familiar with Empire, you're going to see a lot of talent from there, if you're in the area. If you're familiar with pretty much any of the staple Southern independents, you're going to see familiar talent, because these guys make the rounds. And we're just really proud to see that in the demise of Anarchy, and, of course, their new promotion, Why We Wrestle, is going to be debuting here next month in November with what looks to be a hell of a card. But it looks like, other people have been kind of trying to fight for that top spot. And the competition in this case has been a very good thing, pushing everybody to work hard and put on good cards. So that's a fucking awesome thing.
Yeah, the big thing that people have to remember, and the wrestling to remember, is it doesn't really matter how much the internet buzz is, and you're reading about the cards and checking out the cool posters and reading the results. You actually need to go to the events to support them. That's the biggest part. So, as Dan said, if you're in the area, you're able to go to some of these shows, you definitely need to do that to make sure that they stay afloat and they have a reason to give you a good product, because it's cliche, but the old saying about without wrestling fans, there's no wrestling business is 100% true.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. So keep up the good work. I'm proud of the boys, and it does seem to be that the boys' atmosphere is returning. It seems to be that people in the important spots at these places are guys that seem to know what they're doing and have a connection with guys, and it is a network. You see a lot of the same guys rotating on these shows, and that's a good thing because that means that the best talent is in demand. And like I said, it's all just great for the business and the scene in general. Hopefully, it keeps up into 2016 as we round out the year. So I also heard that
if you're not interested in any of those quality shows, I'm sure if you could throw a rock and there's a shit show in your area. So don't forget to check out those either because they're always good for a good laugh.
Exactly, yeah. Speaking of a good laugh from a shit show, oh my God, I got one right before we went on the air. I got a text from
I got it
from one of our compatriots. And I got a text from one of our compatriots, and he said, that I had to check out these photos, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And it looked like backyard wrestling, like in a Walmart parking lot, or maybe like behind a fucking dumpster somewhere. And sure as shit, there was a fucking Andrew Alexander Southeastern Strangler, and there was a fucking Reverend there. And I swear to Christ, it looked like fucking two children cosplaying as us, which was even more hilarious.
It absolutely did, Doc. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then he said it was actual wrestlers in one of my 5 towns, Chatsworth, Georgia.
Fuck.
You can't compete. You can't compete and steal my gimmick in my town. Not in any of my 5 towns. But these guys did it, and they seem to be doing it better than us. I mean, I'm sure they're going to make $1 million.
I mean,
I had the double take. I couldn't believe it, and I thought, especially the one that was dressed like you, or somewhat like you, or something like you. I thought that was like a little girl, like a 10-year-old girl. But it was a mask, and I guess it's supposed to look like a girl. I don't know, but it was hilarious, and I got a good kick out of it.
Yeah, I have to I think I'm gonna have to post those pictures on the Potty Humor page.
Oh yeah,
under
you got to.
Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. There's a time in my life where I would be looking to hunt those motherfuckers down, and I'm so beyond that, and it's just fucking hilarious to me now.
Well, yeah, on one hand, I think, and I mean, it may be true, but on one hand, I think, these guys aren't ripping us off. They're just doing their thing, and it just happens to be similar. But on the other hand, I think, no, fuck that, man. We host a podcast, damn it. Nobody can host a podcast unless you're somebody, and we're doing it. And I'm fucking the matchmaker of the year, hooking people up like Chuck Woolery and shit. And you're like the manager of the decade. Well, 1A to Jeff T. Bailey, but you know what I mean. We're fucking famous is what I'm saying, so I think these kids are ripping us off.
Well, to boot, they also had, rip-off Collins brothers, so it's clearly somebody down there had been a fan of the early Empire because they had several people from that era that they were ripping off, not just us.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm retired. I mean, maybe they could have waited a little longer than a year and a half, but more power to them. I hope they make a lot of money. Lots and lots of money in Chatsworth. Because when I think wrestling and money, I think Chatsworth, Georgia. That's where it's at.
They're synonymous, always. So I just real quick, I heard the Jake the Snake documentary came out, the resurrection of Jake Roberts. It's been in the works for many years, chronicling his big comeback and the use of DDP yoga and helping him do that. And just wanted to say it opened to rave reviews, so people are really putting that over, and I'm really excited about checking it out.
Yeah, I definitely want to get a hold of that somehow, either when it comes out. I did try to look. I get forgetful about some things, but I tried to look at their site, and I couldn't get it to pull up on my phone, and I forgot when I got home. So maybe when we finish this, I can look, see if there's any theaters nearby that may be showing it in the near future. I definitely want to see that, though. I've heard, nothing but amazing things, and I believe it too, because not only is the story amazing, but DDP, man, I'm a fan of DDP. I always was. Not a huge fan, but definitely a fan, and the sumbitch can work, man. He's got a strong work ethic. He's one of these guys that when he's going to go out and do something, he fucking does it. And he's got his shit together with the DDP Yoga and the Performance Center down there in Atlanta, and he's helped Jake Roberts, Scott Hall, obviously, and just countless other people. So
he's got his shit together, so I'm sure they put together a hell of a product. So I definitely want to check that out ASAP.
Yeah, great story with Jake. So many people have counted him out and dead in the water so many times. He's been probably number one on everyone's wrestling death pool. If you're taking bets, and he's a guy that's just managed to overcome and persevere. And, the DDP yoga thing is cool just because so many guys we've seen rehab themselves from that. I think Paige is doing a great service to a lot of the guys in the business just by having that and really kind of being a mentor to guys as far as their health and taking control of their lives. And, it's good to see some positivity in a business that is full of negativity.
Yeah, absolutely. And, outside of the business, because, it's just reaching, whether it be celebrities or just normal people. I've definitely thought about trying to do it myself because I've just heard the reviews are that strong on it. And, we've known Phil Shatter, Gunner from TNA. I've heard him say some really great things about it. And of course, Chris Jericho is a big supporter of it, and we've seen what it's done for Jake Roberts and Scott Hall. That's got to be the top two guys on a death pool list in pro wrestling for 15 years plus. Scott Hall and Jake Roberts, and they're both in great shape, and it's great because those two guys are just, especially Jake, but even Scott Hall, they're so good, such great minds for the business. And, hopefully if they can keep this up, we've seen them get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. That's two guys that company could use creatively and just get so much out of. And that would be awesome to see. So I definitely can't wait to check that out as soon as I can.
Yeah, and interesting what you said about DDP as far as a performer. Like, I thought that, maybe not by design, but he ended up being one of the biggest stars at the end of WCW. Like, he was a legitimate draw as anybody. And he was the only one that came over in the Invasion. Of course, they fucking buried him underground, but, he managed to overcome that even. And, I don't think he really gets his due necessarily as a performer and as a draw at the end of WCW when there are a lot of guys they didn't have, and he was always consistent. He was always over. He was always having good matches. He was always, involved in something important.
Oh, man, and he was, he was in his 40s when he actually started working, which is just, man, to think about that is insane. And this isn't, I'm 40 years old, I'm going to go down the Empire and wrestle. That would be a feat. This is WCW. This is a national company on, cable networks, pay-per-views, worldwide. This is a big fucking deal, and he did it, and he succeeded at it. And I've been, I've talked about before, I've been watching the old WCW pay-per-views. I'm up to Halloween Havoc 96. The NWO is there and strong, and Hogan's about to work with Savage, and Piper's about to come in. I've watched all the pay-per-views. And watched them, not just had them on in the background. I've been watching. And DDP was the hardest worker in 95 and 96, hands down in WCW. You can see it in the matches. You can tell, and no matter who he worked with, it could be, a talent like Eddie Guerrero. I think I just watched the match with him and Eddie Guerrero, or enhancement guys, and Barry, the Booty Man, and Johnny B. Bad, and these guys he was working with, and Dave Sullivan, these type of guys. He was having quality matches, working his ass off, trying new things, trying stuff, trying to tell good stories and everything, leaps and bounds above pretty much everybody on the cards at that time. So, yeah, definitely. He's an underrated guy, because it was WCW, and a lot of the stuff he was involved in was towards the end of the company and things like that. But I'm just a fan of his like you said, his positivity and his work. I wish I had a little bit of that fucking DDP sense in me, man, because he stays on the right track, man, and it just rubs off people around him, which is I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, damn sure. So big props to the DDP. So what do we got going on at Empire Wrestling in the next coming weeks that the fans need to know about?
Well, when this drops, the next show coming up will be the Chasing the Grail tournament, the conclusion, 3 rounds in one night. The biggest, a huge question mark, as you know, because you just had Joey Lynch on the Midnight Black Mass, is if he's going to be able to compete. He suffered a severe ankle injury probably would have been better off if he actually broke his ankle. It's a very odd injury and freak accident. So it's questionable to see if he's going to be in the tournament. And this is a guy that he won last year's tournament, screwed out of his 2 title matches with Sean Tempers, never really received his rematch, got sidetracked with the owner of the company, Drew Delight. So it's just a black cloud over the whole tournament. Will he even get to compete? If he can compete, he's going to have to win 4 matches that night, including his first-round match with Jason Hampton, and then going on from there, winner of that match is going to face KT Hamlin, and who knows what will happen. He was interrupted in that Black Mass segment by Rush, who went to the finals of last year's tournament against Joey Lynch, says he's going to win the tournament. He's very sure about it. Says if he does, he's not going to wait till chasing the Grail to take the Empire Heavyweight title from Logan Alvey. Not sure what he means by that. Maybe after he wins the tournament, if he's victorious, he'll call out Logan right then. That doesn't seem his style, and I wouldn't recommend anybody face 2 or 3 matches in one night and then want the title shot. So interesting to see what will happen. A lot of good talent in that. Gunnar Miller, of course, who has just been a mess with this situation with Drew Delight he says he's his coach. You and I both know is a bunch of shit. He's riding his coattails trying to mooch off of him, because everyone who's seen Gunnar Miller perform knows that he could be a future star in professional wrestling on a national level. So this guy's just trying to milk it and line his pockets with Gunnar Miller's success. But, Bobby Hayes, obviously a top guy to look for in the tournament. Like I mentioned, KT Hamill, the Maniac's in there, and stranger things have happened. So if he went on to the finals and became the number 1 contender, that would be interesting to say the least. So, yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. And, I mean, if you're a fan of the tournament format, we just saw the Phoenix City Invitational. It was a 3 rounds spread out over 2 nights. This is going to be 3 rounds in one night. So I don't think it's a can't miss event.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, of course, going to crown a new number 1 contender and set the pace for moving into the wintertime, the first of the year. Can't miss event. Definitely want to check it out. EmpireWrestling.net, Facebook.com/Empire Wrestling, on Twitter @EmpirePW. I do want to talk for a second about this beef with Drew Delight, the owner of Empire. Got to wonder kind of what is your contract structure? I've never really asked that, but I never really thought we'd come to this. I mean, I can't say I never thought. It has crossed my mind that these 2 paths may cross at some point and heads may butt. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked that we've gone along this far without any sort of issues, because it's not uncommon for a promoter to try to meddle with the booker's goings-on, and that appears to be what's happened with Drew Delight inserting himself into this Gunnar Miller situation. He got in the ring trying to directly influence the outcome of the match, and, of course, you weren't going to stand for that, being the matchmaker who promised these people a fair title fight. And, of course, it ends up with you guys having an all-out brawl in the middle of the ring, and myself and several members of the Empire locker room trying to separate you. But, it also kind of got my ire riled up out there a little bit, just because, we're office now. We're trying to do the right thing, but, he don't need to forget who the hell he's fucking with.
Yeah, man, my deal is simple, and I've said it. I've let the people know about it, and there was an issue with the last man in charge getting involved in matches and then starting to compete in matches, and that's not what Drew wanted, and rightfully so. So after my exile from the wrestling business, it was just laid out
2 simple things: as long as I don't compete in the ring, and as long as I don't get physically involved with anyone, unless provoked, physically provoked. If you put your hands on me, I have every right to defend myself. And that hasn't really been an issue thus far. And then when he tried to basically help Gunnar Miller in his match with Logan Alvey, I got in there and he pushed me. And that was a good sign for me that he wanted to fight. So, I haven't thrown a punch in a long time, but I threw one, damn near broke my hand. But that's the deal, and the deal was fine for a long time, and then just at some point he just started sticking his nose in my business just a little bit, and the way I was running the show just wasn't good enough, and he just had these ideas, and like I said, he wants Gunnar Miller to be the face of the company, and he is. He's definitely a face of the company. He's not the Empire Heavyweight Champion, but that's not my fault. That's not anyone's fault, except, in this case, it's really Drew Delight's fault. He could have won his title shot with Logan Alvey, but he's going down the wrong path, hanging around with Drew Delight. And I know he's a young guy in the business, and Drew is a veteran and is a good salesman and a good talker, and he's manipulative, and he's weaseled his way into this guy's head. And I just hope he straightens up before he gets too lost into that mess. But yeah, I'm not gonna be that guy that allows the promoter to call the shots. I was given the job for a reason. I've done the job pretty damn well, in my opinion, in the opinion of many people. So, if he wants to get rid of me, he can. He can fire me and pick someone else to run the show any point he wants to. But, I'm not going to stand for that either, because I play by the only rules I were provided, and I've done an amazing job. And I don't know too many more people. I don't know if I know anyone outside of you that I would think could come in and run the place. And I know you don't necessarily want that job. So,
nope.
I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, obviously he can't do the job better than me, because there was an Empire before there was an Andrew Alexander in Empire, and a lot of people don't know that, because apparently it wasn't ran that well. So, I guess we'll see what happens there, but I just hope that we get through this tournament and crown the number one contender for the Empire Heavyweight title without any more incident, and the best man can walk out of Chasing Grail, the Empire Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for. I haven't gotten a pink slip as of yet. I've gotten my future dates from the office, so I think that we're both okay. And hey, if they don't want to, like you said, if they don't want us around, fuck them. Like we've poured our soul into this place to try to help. And obviously not without the crew and everybody else involved, but, we've certainly put a lot of skin in the game here. You more so than I, but even as an advisor, if I don't fucking care about it, I'm not going to invest myself in it. So, I would hate to lose that relationship, but, at the end of the day, even though we're office right now, we're rejects at heart, and that outlaw spirit's just not going to let us fucking get walked over, in no aspect anywhere.
Yeah, you and I both have done a great job of putting those things behind us and those tendencies behind us, and I feel sorry for the poor soul that wants to bring that stuff to the surface because Andrew Alexander and Dan Wilson are two completely different guys than the Reverend and the Southeastern Stranglers. So, and I was just saying, I'm not sure if he's thought about a lot of the talent that may not be there if I wasn't there, or if someone like him or some other idiot was in charge, like the Tanks and the Revs and the Kyle Matthews and a lot of people like that. But we'll see. I don't think it's going to come to that type of situation.
Nah. Like, cooler heads need to prevail and do what's best for the fans, and best for the product overall.
Dare we say best for business?
I was damn sure trying to avoid that phrase, but
I know that's why I fucking said it.
You heard me. You heard the fucking clogs on the ground tap dancing around that motherfucker.
It sucks because that's just a phrase that has been said for so long, and now it's just Mark shit.
If they trademark Mark shit, we're done.
Oh my God, we're so fucking over. And
I mean, what else would we have to talk about?
Yeah, they'll be coming for us one day, but at least we'll get some money out of it. Maybe they'll buy our podcast.
I hope it's for sale if you want it.
$50.
Oh, it'd take a little more than that, but not much.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want $50. You can name your price.
Okay, fair enough. Your cut will be $50, no matter what. So, hey, real quick before we get out of here on the wrestle news, did want to mention that, so Jimmy Snuka actually going to trial for murder. The latest news out of that, he will not actually be physically standing in trial because he is in poor health. There will be documents, basically his attorney will be standing in for him in the trial, but that's so fucking crazy. What about the power of the internet? That's a story that was only like hush-hushed amongst the boys for years and years. They're one of those crazy wrestling urban legends. And, you know, I think it was when I first broke into the business, you know how tall tales grow over time. It was that Jimmy Hooker threw a hooker off Jimmy Hooker. Jimmy Snuka threw a hooker off a balcony, and obviously that's not what happened. The lady, rest her soul, was not a hooker, and nor was she thrown off a balcony, but something nefarious did apparently, or at least, I'm not going to accuse the Superfly, but there's certainly some things in the coroner's report that don't necessarily jive with what the official story was, and so the case has been reopened. What are your thoughts on that?
This shit's crazy, man. I mean, someone just needs to show these attorneys and these coppers and the judge. They need to show a clip of the Superfly coming off the top of the cage onto Don Morocco in Madison Square Garden, and he will instantly be acquitted because he's the fucking Superfly. So what if he murdered a bitch? Let him away with it. This shit's so old. This shit's so old. I mean, he had to come back and fucking wear boots and couldn't talk and cut promos anymore and just had to bark like some sort of fucking tree climbing dog from the Isle of Samoa, and had to put everybody over in 89 and 90 and shit. He's paid his dues.
Well, I don't think that quite is the same playing field, but so what they're saying, you know, is I believe Snuka's story is like something happened and she fell and hit her head, which, and hey, that can happen. That's not as crazy as it sounds. My first cousin's fiance, actually, very sweet lady and very tragic event that really devastated our family. She fell in the bathroom and hit her head one day and it killed her. Like a lady in her early 30s, you know.
Insane.
Yeah, so it's not implausible that something like that could happen, you know, but apparently more things came out like that they didn't release in the official coroner. The coroner basically said that, you know, she was beaten to death or her wounds were consistent with something much more severe than just a simple fall and a crack of the head. And, you know, Stuka's story apparently changed a few times. And also, part of the urban legend back in the day, of course, was Jimmy Snuka threw a hooker off a balcony, and Vince McMahon bought off the cops and covered it up. That was the original. Like, obviously, that's not true. But, you know, there is some question. It's like Vince did go talk to the investigators, and now some people are coming out saying it was Vince Sr. and not Vince Jr., but still, like, this just another fallen legend, man. 2015 has been the worst year for wrestling icons in a while.
Yeah, it hasn't been very kind to a lot of them. I don't believe I could see Vince Senior doing that, but I couldn't see Junior doing it for the simple fact that he just did not get the mileage or the money out of Jimmy Snuka that he could have. Really put him on the back burner when he kind of took over and stuff. I mean, this is a guy. When this event in question happened, Jimmy Snuka looked like $10 million, man. He was jacked up like a motherfucker. So I don't think Junior did that to protect his investment because he didn't seem too invested in the Superfly. But the whole thing's crazy. You know, we're kind of making light of it here, but it's so far in the past, and I just don't see where the facts are that would give them the reason to bring this back up. Apparently, maybe there was a different story told in Jimmy Snuka's book, but for starters, Jimmy Snuka's not writing that book. It's a ghostwriter, and God forbid one of the boys, a worker, would embellish a story for an autobiography. That would never happen. Like, I just don't know. I would not be shocked
to see this whole thing just not forgotten about, but I think it's going to turn out to be nothing, and Jimmy Snuka's good name will be intact. Now, I would be shocked if it turns out that he beat this bitch to death with the coconut. Now, that's going to be some irony there.
Yeah, that would certainly put a whole new spin on things, wouldn't it?
It sure as fuck would. Fucking, and not no gimmick coconut either. They try to deny that coconut was gimmick, but you can tell. But good for them for keeping up the mystique for all these years. But I think this will blow over. And it sucks because he is in poor health now, and it sucks that this could be some of the last days of his life, and he's living, putting up with this stuff. And even if so, it's got to affect him when he isn't in the greatest shape right now. It's got to be a real, really bringing him down to be going through this, and his family, and pretty much anybody involved. So hopefully it'll just go away pretty soon, and they'll find out there's no real evidence or anything.
Yeah, hopefully the Superfly didn't do it, and we're all good, and everybody, one wrestling icon doesn't have to have 2015 be the fucking be-all, end-all of his career and possibly life. They were saying that it's going to be probably hard to convict him anyway because he may not live through the trial. So, it's I don't know how bad his situation is, but apparently bad enough that statement was made by somebody in the camp. So yeah, just it was a hot button news item, and I thought we would be remiss if we didn't talk about it.
Well, that's definitely bigger news and everything. But before we wrap up wrestling news, because wrestling news has been a little bit slower lately, but something just happened forward there. Apparently, former TNA star James Storm popped up at the NXT tapings, worked a match and everything. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, there wasn't hardly a bigger star for them than him, especially in their later years. James is
and when you look
a
at,
great hand.
When you looked at guys that they made, I'd say your top three are probably an AJ, a Bobby Roode, and a James Storm. Maybe a Samoa Joe, who is also in NXT currently. But, yeah, definitely a big deal. Great for him. They tape in Orlando, which is where TNA does too. I'm sure if he's not living there or has a home there, he is very, very, very used to that schedule and that travel. So probably a really good situation for him. And, curious to see how they'll use him. Maybe he'll be in that Samoa Joe type of role where he works with a lot of the young talent and stuff. Maybe be one of those deals where it's not really guaranteed he'll get up to the main roster, but that's probably a deal that he's happy with. He gets to give back. He gets to help these young guys and still gets to contribute in a really good situation right now because NXT is kind of the hot thing going. It seems to have a little more steam than the actual WWE. So, congratulations to him. I only met him one time, but he was as far as I can tell, he was a class act, man. He was really cool, really nice, friendly guy. And, worked pretty damn hard coming out of Nashville and obviously getting with TNA and, becoming a pretty good guy to have on the roster. So congrats to him, and hopefully that all turns out pretty well.
Yeah, man, I probably worked 15 or 20 cards with him over the years. Got to work with him back in the early days, back when I was doing some ring announcing for Burt Prentice at the Nashville Fairgrounds. And James, he was just coming up then, but he was one of the big stars there. I didn't really talk to him a lot then, but, I never had anything bad to say about him. And, of course, he always was in a top spot and delivered the goods. And, he was certainly a guy that Burt was behind, and that was a good spot to be in up there, and Burt definitely pushed him, and I think he's a guy that maybe back in the days, not that he was bad, but he didn't really pop out to me as a great worker. They had a great gimmick, but he didn't pop out to me as a great worker in those early days. Of course, I didn't know shit from apple butter, but you have that instinct even as a fan. But, man, did he become a fucking great worker over the years. And in those last years of TNA, man, he was one of those guys out there delivering the quality old-school matches, never afraid to get a little juice. He was delivering the goods. So he's a guy that really matured to me, I think, into a major star. And I think it's a big acquisition for them.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you think that maybe he won't be looked at as a main roster guy, at least not right now, because he is performing as James Storm, be able to keep his name. And from the one picture that was tweeted out, I think Triple H tweeted it out, he was in his, he had the full James Storm cowboy look from TNA. So it's really interesting how they're doing that now a little bit more. I guess it's with guys that they kind of look at keeping it in NXT, like a Samoa Joe and a James Storm, but letting them keep their names and likeness rights and things, because obviously they're big on changing and owning their own stuff, and you can't blame them for that, really. It's just business, but so that's going to be interesting. That's something that changes stuff up and switches stuff up a lot, and I think that's just another blow to TNA, because man, that company is just they seem to be struggling right now, man. I mean, I haven't watched the product since they've switched to Destination America, really, other than clippets here and there on the internet, but man, it just doesn't seem to be looking good for those guys, which you hate to hear. I wish there was 20 wrestling shows, whether I watched them or not. I just want guys to have places to work and get paid, but it's not looking good for them.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that, like, didn't they just put the belt on Matt Hardy and he vacated it immediately?
Yeah.
That, they just, I don't know who's in charge down there, and I don't know what went on in the dealings, and who was honest with who or whatever, but I mean, you can't let that shit happen. You gotta have this shit worked out. As if they couldn't withstand much more damage to their roster or credibility. So many guys have been leaving and everything, and now, their belt, which they've tried to restore some meaning to, just gets shit on because of a contract situation.
Well, I don't know if maybe that is, but it just seems like it's just a big angle. It doesn't seem like a good angle, but it seems like they're trying to generate.
See, I haven't watched the actual videos or anything. I'm just going by the shit I see in the news, and people are talking about it like it's a shoot. If it's an angle, I'm not really sure what the fucking deal is, unless they're trying to rebrand or something.
They're doing some sort of a world title series with 32 guys, and they're broken into groups, and it's a point system, and the top guys from each group is going to enter a 16-man tournament, and boom, have a new champ. And it sounds like some confusing shit, but they're using Kenny King, who just ditched them and went back to Ring of Honor. You can hear all about that guy on Jim Cornette's latest podcast that you turned me on to, and it's pretty hilarious. But and it's got a bracket with women. The women are in it, I guess, so they're playing up the idea that one of their knockouts could be the next TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and I just don't know about them, man. I don't know. I think they're grasping for straws here. They're trying to get something to stick, and I just don't know if anything seems to be working for them.
Damn. Well, still got friends up there. Best of luck to them. I hope they succeed. I hope whatever they're doing works, and they end up bouncing back. That would be ideal for everybody in the business.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you ready to hate?
I was born hating.
That's what the fuck I thought.
Oh man, why do you hate everything new? Partly because I don't understand it, and partly because fuck you. It's time for Old Man Haters.
What's wrong with you?
It's either this show or indigestion. I hope it's indigestion.
Why?
It'll get better in a little while.
Welcome to Old Man Haters, the part of the show where we pull up our pants and get a little surly and pissed off and cantankerous and curmudgeonly and bitch about whatever's crawling up our asses. So, anything crawling up your ass tonight, Andrew?
Man, no, not particularly. I'm sure you can hate on something, and I'll be happy to join in. But, life in general, but we don't have all day to bitch about that. So we have to. I just hate everything. You're good at honing in on specific things.
Fair enough. I am good at finding one thing to hate and just focusing all of my hatred on that. And it's cathartic in a way. And sometimes, as we learned in the Anarchy episodes, it's not even focused on the right person. But regardless, I had a couple of things wrestling related. So I don't only get to be an old man hater, I get to be an old man veteran hater, a crotchety old wrestler that gets to talk about how much better it was back in my day, kid. But, in all seriousness, I broke one of my own cardinal rules this week on the old Twitter, and I quickly deleted it because I'm not afraid to tell you what the fuck I said, and I'll definitely tell that here in a minute. But it's a little unprofessional to have shit like that out there on the fucking Twitterverse, and like I said, I broke one of my own rules, so in that respect, I was like, no, you can't fucking do that shit. So, I'm not going to fucking give the little cocksuckers any free advertisement, but there's some motherfuckers afoot on the indie wrestling scene talking little shit. So all I tweeted out was, you keep talking that good shit, you're going to run into one of us in the locker room sooner or later. And then I proceeded to more specifically identify them, and then I proceeded to fucking hurl some very vicious insults. And I then deleted the tweets because I was like, fuck. That doesn't take away that I think these things, but you can't sell shit from the fucking marks. Like, that's rule number one. You don't sell shit. If motherfuckers are trying to get up your crawl in the wrestling business, they're trying to elicit a reaction from you. And if you give them that reaction, then you are giving in to exactly what they want. They want your attention. They want your time. Because obviously there's something about what you're doing that is affecting them. So don't sell shit from the marks. That's number one. And I know that's not real specific, but I don't want to get much more specific, but I think you can pick up what I'm throwing down.
That's specific. I got you, yeah. Everybody can relate.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten fairly... I try not to sell shit from anybody anymore. Not that I've been a big seller of shit ever, but you're right, man. It's not just something people say and trying to take the high road and shit like that, some sort of cop-out. It's legit, man. You people that fuck with you at all, just no sell them. It doesn't matter. There's people out there that just constantly want to hate on you or to just pick at you and try to get a response and try to get you looking like the villain and the bad guy in the case, or looking immature or what have you. And you just gotta forget that shit, man, because people that really know, and that people that are in your circle or that you probably respect their opinion, they agree with you in the fact of saying, like, yeah, fuck that guy. That guy's the idiot. And that's the type of situation that it's very frequent in the wrestling business, unfortunately. But, yeah, you just got to fucking ignore that shit.
Yeah, you can't sell it because this lifespan is tragically fucking short. And the joyous moments are all too infrequent. And the more time you spend worrying about what some worthless motherfucker thinks about you, the less time you're spending enjoying the limited minutes you have on this fucking planet.
Yeah, man, and I'm telling you, I've grown. I've said it on here before. I've grown a big fan of the saying, living well is the best revenge. That's how I live now, man. Because there's people out there, no matter what they say, they may say, I hope he's doing well. Even the people that want you to do well, they don't want you to do too well. They don't want you to do better than them. But people like that try to fuck with you, they just want to see you down and hurting and struggling and shit. So even if you are, don't let them see it. And if you're not, shout that from the mountains. Talk about how good you're doing, or let people see how good you're doing, and it'll just fuck with them even more. They'll just hate it even more. Just rub it in their fucking face. And I think that's how you can do it. That is the best revenge, is just doing good, doing well, doing good for yourself.
Yeah, I want to focus my energy on positive things, the good shit that we're doing in the wrestling business, and I consider myself semi-retired now. I still take like 3 to 4 dates a month, still got a couple traveling bookings coming up here and there, but like I can say if that's your full-time schedule and you're fucking 25 years old, then you are doing the wrong thing, Like, I consider myself in a semi-retired status taking these limited dates. But what I do, I pour my passion into it because wrestling it's my mistress. It's my first love. It's the thing that defines me in many ways. It's not the only thing that defines me by any stretch, but it's a large portion of who I am. And I can never be taken away. And so, if you got a fucking problem with that, if you'll piss up a rope, I don't give a fuck. Like I said, you can't sell that shit, and I don't and won't sell that shit. If you think I fucking hate you, then you might be right. That's all I'll say. But if you...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I lost my thought.
Chances are, if someone like me or Dan hates you, it's not that we just spend all of our time thinking about you and wishing bad things upon you. It's just that you never enter our thoughts in any way, shape, or form until someone mentions you and you're just like, oh, yeah, I know that person. I hate them. So if you're hated, you're not, trust me, you're not in our thoughts or in even in the back of our minds. It's just someone will bring you up or something reminds us of you and we're like, oh yeah, fuck that person. That's about as far as it goes. You're not getting into these old grizzly old bastards.
No, the opposite of love is total indifference. And so if I hate you, I'm totally fucking indifferent to you. I don't give a fuck if you fucking burn alive in a house fire. I could care less. So got another one though. Got another point for the old man haters. I came armed with 2 pistols tonight, baby. So
bang bang.
Fired off number 1, time for number 2. Unrelated, but I am so fucking sick and tired, and I tweeted this also earlier, so it's double related to Twitter. But I got a fucking ton of retweets and favorites and shit. I was like, whoa, what the hell? Even like, what the fuck? What was the dude that was fucking Alberto Del Rio's fucking like butler dude who did his ring introductions and shit?
Ricardo Rodriguez, I think.
Yeah, he fucking like retweeted my shit. But I said I'm so fucking sick and tired of seeing goddamn shitty indie shows putting quote unquote former WWE / WCW / TNA superstar Joe fucking Blow on their posters. The tweet was, you need to look up the fucking definition of star because it don't mean what you think it means. And my follow-up was, look, I worked for WCW Developmental in the Wild Side days. Was right there entrenched in that program. Fucking did WWE extra spots with you on a Monday Night Raw. Got beat up by DX. Had a good time. Fucking in no way, shape, or form does that make us former WWE stars. If you did a job one time in '87, that does not make you a former WCW star. A star would mean that you are featured, that the promotion invested something in you. And fucking like Al Getz even responded, it's funny, right after that tweet, the next tweet was some show advertising former WCW star, The Stro. And I was like, well, fuck, at least that guy had like some vignettes and 2 or 3 wins on TV. He might as well be fucking Sting compared to some of these other motherfuckers.
The man called Stro.
I mean, like, what the fuck? Like, how delusional are you? Like, and it's fucking shitty promoting, too. It's shady as fuck because you're just taking people's money.
And God, does that work on anyone? Does anyone go to the show and see this person? It's like, yeah, I remember them. They were on WCW all the time. It's like, no, people know. people see right through that shit. I mean, I just can't imagine that working at all. I think, if anything, it just takes away credibility and makes your show instantly look like shit. But I've seen that done for years and years. I mean, I've never once put on a flyer former WrestleMania main eventer Andrew Alexander. Now, I mean, I may have told every single person I've ever met in my life that, but I don't advertise it. And then they give you shit. Oh, Triple H wasn't in the main event. Hey, if it was an Undertaker match at Mania, damn it, it was a main event to me. So fuck them. But you don't put that shit on a flyer and expect it to fly and expect it to draw money and people not to laugh at you. But the idiots still do it.
Yeah, that one, like, stop. Just fucking stop it. Stop being dumbasses. Like, I'm not picking on any one person in particular because I've seen it on fucking 5 to 10 shitty flyers in the last month. And I've seen it in 100,000 of them since I've been in the fucking business. And it's garbage, you know, it's fucking garbage. You know, I understand if you don't fucking know any better, but if you don't know any better, listen up, and I'm telling you better now so you don't have an excuse. So stop fucking doing it.
I agree. Hey, real quick, just completely off subject, just to wrap this up, I think we should reach out and get the Chatsworth, Georgia shitbird versions of me and you to come on the podcast.
I mean, if you can get them, bring them on.
And not be mean to them, just ask them, like, do you know who we are? And, okay, you don't, cool. And what's your inspiration for looking like us? And you know, things like that. I just think that'd be funny. You just struck my memory there by talking about shit shows.
Yeah. The children cosplayers. Bring them on. We need content generators, baby. This is a weekly show, so fucking anybody you want.
Yes, sir.
So, no more hating from you?
No, I'm hated out. I mean, that first thing you mentioned, I completely agree with you on, and I don't have a case right now at the tip of my tongue, but I mean, I know what you mean, and I just couldn't agree more. Just you gotta say fuck those people. And the second thing is ridiculous, and it's never going to change, but it definitely should. But what are you going to do?
All you can do is hate. So, we hated. Are you ready to love?
I'm always ready.
All right.
In a world filled with sluts, whores, and women who make questionable choices, one man sets out to fuck them all. Will our hero fuck or fail?
Welcome to Fuck or Fail.
Yeah, this week's story is it's a little short. It's not a lot in depth. Doesn't involve anything crazy like ass fucking or in somebody's driveway or getting blown behind major retailers, but it's a good little story nonetheless and ties into some of our themes that we cover on the show. But as some of our people listening may know, and as you know, I've been known from time to time when the mood arises to dress as one Tony Stark, as seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, played by Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, I saw photographic evidence of that this week, actually.
Absolutely, and that's where this story stems from. Just pulled that off this week. Dressed like Tony Stark, and basically what I do is the hair's pretty much normal, especially it's a little short right now, so I couldn't pull off the best Tony Stark look, but I wear a nice suit. I've got a arc reactor that I wear under it, lights up. But, with the suit and the tie and stuff, that's not really a focal point of it, but it's just something to point out when somebody's like, who are you? And I wear some douchey sunglasses and carry a small glass of brandy or scotch-looking drink. It's, of course, sweet tea, but it looks the part. And the big thing that sets it off is trim the beard into the douchey chin strap, pencil-thin goatee and mustache that Tony Stark has, and he pulls off well, but I think it's just one of the worst things ever. I just think it's just so horribly douchey looking, and it's the number one sign of a douchebag. But women love that look. They love it. And I make it a point to tell them anytime, because I receive tons of compliments when I wear my facial hair like that when I'm being Tony Stark, because that's the only time I'll ever do it, because I hate it. I mean, it literally makes me uncomfortable. I feel like less of a man when I have that douchey facial hair. But when women compliment me on how good it looks and how I should wear it all the time, I tell them no, and I feel bad for them as women, and I feel bad for the human race, because just every woman I come across, they all love it. And I just can't fucking stand it, and it just makes me angry. But that doesn't mean that if someone was to throw their snatch in my face, I'm not going to attack it dressed as Tony Stark. And that's what we have on this week's edition of Fuck or Fail, because I do receive a lot of compliments when dressing like that. You know, in a suit, every girl's crazy about a Stark dressed man. Everybody knows that. I've got this douchey facial hair. I get texts, I get Facebook messages, I get all sorts of women reaching out. Oh my God, you look so good, so handsome. You should do that all the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, one text came from a long-lost fan of the Southeastern Strangler's dick. So it wasn't a new situation, but definitely a throwback, something that hasn't happened in quite a while. And they said in the text, basically, hey, it's so funny. I thought of you yesterday because I finally read the book. This is a shoot. This is for real. I finally read the book 50 Shades of Grey, and it instantly made me think of you. And if you've read 50 Shades of Grey, if you've read 50 Shades of Grey, you know what the book's about. Obviously, it became a movie, and I've actually read this book. It was a huge deal when it came out, and it became such a huge deal that I was like, what the fuck is the fuss about? So I borrowed it from someone I know. They had it. I read it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal because I've lived most of that shit on a fucking
right,
Tuesday
you're like,
night.
oh, this is a Tuesday night. Like, what the fuck?
Exactly. Like, and that's no exaggeration. That's just the truth. I mean, I'm not a rich billionaire like the Christian Grey in the book, but aside from that, we have some similarities. So I was like, okay, whatever. Well, I get this message. I instantly thought of you, and it made me think back, and I missed it. And then I see these pictures of you dressed as Tony Stark, and you just look amazing. Blah 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 blah. So of course, my natural reaction is, well, have you ever been fucked by a superhero? and she says, no, I can't say that I have. And I just reply with 4 words. I am Iron Man. And you're thinking, yes, the odds of being this dorky, this over the top, and saying some ridiculous shit like this, getting you laid, are very slim to none. But this is the world I'm living in. This is the curse that's put upon. It's more of a burden. It's a burden that's been put upon me. So I say, well, what are you doing tonight? And it just so happens that she's open. She's free. And I got to imagine that she didn't text me just, sure, maybe she did think of me when reading the book. Sure, she did see the pictures and thought I looked good. But I think maybe she was hinting at this anyway. But I like to go fishing as much as the next guy. So if she's throwing the bait, I'll bite. I'm like, okay, so let's get together. So I'm put in a situation where I'm going to go see this girl after I take care of some other business where I'm clearly not. And she didn't say, let me go back. She didn't say she wanted to fuck Tony Stark or anything like this. But I think I need to deliver the goods and pull off a little Christian Grey meets Tony Stark. So I'm involved in some activities where I'm clearly not going to wear a nice suit or dress as Tony Stark. But I go and I take care of my business. I take my suit with me. I got my suit in my passenger seat. And I can't just go somewhere and put on my suit to turn into my Tony Stark before going to fuck this chick. I can't go into her house and run to say, oh, excuse me, I got to run to the bathroom, go in there, change into my suit, and come out like, Tony Stark's here, baby, I'm Iron Man. Jump on this iron dick. I can't do that either. So I do what anybody would do, and I drive extremely unsafely and change into my suit while I'm driving because I'm a professional. I conduct myself as a professional. So I got the nice suit on. I got the belt. I got the dress shoes. I got the nice socks. I put my tie on. That's right. I put my fucking tie on while I'm driving. Can you do that? No, I don't think you can because you're not a real man. You're not Tony Stark. You're not Iron Man like me. So I get to the chick's house, and I'm feeling good because this bitch is in for a surprise because I'm fucking going to Christian Grey her ass dressed as Tony Stark. So she opens the door, and I mean, the bitch was just instantly soaked. And I know you're asking, how do you know? I couldn't see it, but I could smell it.
Holy shit.
I go in, we go to a room, she shuts the door. I grab this bitch. I throw her against the wall like she's fucking the Mandarin. Not some cheesy actor playing the Mandarin, the real-life Mandarin. I'm manhandling her. I throw her against the wall. I take my tie off. That's right. I tie it around her eyes so she can't see. And from there, the story's pretty basic, but I fucked the shit out of this girl, and it was good. It was straight up. I mean, if you've seen Christian Grey in the movie 50 Shades of Grey, that motherfucker ain't got shit on me because I was fucking this girl. I was fucking her like crazy. That's a shoot. It was definitely a home run on this particular occasion. I felt like I delivered the goods. I had a good time. She got to fuck a superhero. And all in all, you know, I don't like to get too crazy. When I was taking my jacket off, my pants, I laid them nicely over the damn chair she had in there. Can't be wrinkling up my suit. Tony Stark don't go out like that. So it was a good time. We fucked. There was no failing. A good little story. Roughed her up with the, you know, had my tie on her. And I was very, very weird about that because the tie I had on was a nice tie. I like it. I'm like, man, I don't know about tying this around this bitch's eyes, fucking putting on knots in it and shit. And not to mention, what if it get some juices on my tie? I ain't going to like that at all. But took the tie off eventually. It was juice safe. Nothing on it. Maintained the integrity of the tie. It was a good time. It was a good time. I would say you should have been there, but that would have really killed my mood.
If I just had some popcorn in one hand and lube in the other.
Oh, fuck. Daddy don't play no lube, man.
Oh, you're a no lube man, huh?
No. If something happens and she ain't getting going by just my good graces, let's fucking spit on that bitch. Chances are I'm going to do that anyway. But have you ever been fucked by a superhero? No, can't say that I have. I am Iron Man.
I mean, if you can't win with that pickup line, like what are you doing with your life?
And the Christian Grey thing too, tied that in. That was I took that as a compliment because that book fucking got everybody wet. I mean, I never told you. I had a plan to go to the premiere of 50 Shades of Grey just dressed in a nice suit and just wait outside the theater and just stand there. Just stand there. Somebody would have come out soaked and been like, oh, fuck, look at you. That's right. That would have been a great story. I didn't do it. That's one of the biggest regrets in my life right there.
Holy shit. Well, with that, folks, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the goal. This is the Reverend Andrew Alexander, and we're out.
This has been a production of the Potty Humor Network. Find us online at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe to us weekly and never miss an episode by searching Potty Humor on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you for listening, and good night.